You're listening to Brain Lenses. I'm Colin Wright. A recently published report that was co-produced by More in Common and Fox Sports documents the findings of a study that looked at the difference between sports fans and non-sports fans when it comes to interpersonal and civic engagement. This study used an earlier framework for distinguishing between different types of fans of any fandom, not just sports, which divides respondents up into non-fans, low-value fans, mid-value fans, and high-value fans. They found that high-value sports fans in the United States tend to be more civically engaged. 92% of them are registered to vote versus 75% of non-fans, are a lot more likely to follow politics closely, 53% versus 29%, and are more likely to participate in local elections, 64% versus 35%. That's already a huge distinction, and those numbers include both Democrats and Republicans, so it's not based on the politics of the fan. Being a bigger sports fan seems to correlate with being more politically engaged, however you vote. Interestingly, and this is something the More in Common people are especially keen to explore further, given the nature of their cause, using data to bridge divides between polarized groups, people who are bigger sports fans also seem to be more interested in speaking with other people who have different political views. 82% for high-value fans versus 65% for non-fans. There are several theories as to why sports fandom and political engagement might be so strongly correlated. One is that there's an inherent community element in most sports teams. Teams are from places and compete against teams from other places. Support for such competitions and spectacles seems like it could translate into community-building activities and values, especially considering the fact that high-value fans are more likely to have donated blood than non-fans, 29% versus 12%, and to have donated to their place of worship in the past year, 43% versus 18%. There are all sorts of ways to interpret those numbers, of course, but one is to assume that sports people may be overall more interested in community-oriented stuff, including athletic competitions where they cheer for people from their communities. Another theory is that for many people, perhaps especially Americans, sports is culturally associated with national values, like in the US, democracy. This study found that high-value fans were far more likely to say that democracy is definitely the best form of government for the United States than non-fans, 73% versus the 53% for non-fans, and that both political parties should work together to solve problems for our country, 87% versus 77%. Finally, and this is implied but not directly stated in the report, there's also a chance that the competitive unity inherent in sports fandom may play a role here. Players from different places duke it out in a game with rules and traditions, and the people in the stands and watching at home engage in that ritual of us versus them as well. At the end of the ritual, though, the players usually shake hands or otherwise diffuse the intense sense of competition, and that vibe of we compete but we all love the same sport in the end might translate to other aspects of sports fans' lives as well. You cheer for different teams, but ultimately you all share an overarching interest in sports. There's also a chance that being part of the same fandom can make discussing otherwise difficult topics like politically charged issues easier because there's a pre-existing relationship based on another collection of shared values upon which to premise that discussion. That might allow, for instance, Democrats and Republicans to acknowledge their differences in a respectful manner because their fandom serves as a relational bridge. I'm able to present Brain Lenses in both its written and audio formats ad-free because of support from listeners like you. If you're enjoying what I'm doing here, consider becoming a paid supporter for the cost of a cup of coffee each month at brainlenses.com.